Greetings, this is Stasia Bliss, Kundalini Queen, helping walk you through your awakening. Still working on that. This video I wanted to address the question, can I be going through a Kundalini awakening and have a mental health disorder at the same time? So I wanted to address that because two things, probably more than two things, but I'll start with yes and no. Yes, of course, you can have pre-existing conditions that affect the self. But even going behind those, if they're related to trauma, if they're related to genetics, if they're related to childhood stuff, if they're related to a hormonal imbalance, if they're even related to something missing, like not getting a certain neurotransmitter, those still have traceable roots that can be addressed through, first of all, awareness in the process, and then someone who is skilled in helping you to identify and clear or integrate those traumas, and then look at what exactly is causing a hormone inhibition in the first place, if that is it. Why do we just stop there and say, well, there's no hormone, so I guess we need medication? What about there's probably still another cause behind that is creating the reason why your body can't manufacture the hormone, or the reason why it still gives a specific symptom like a PTSD response or of that nature. So if we still look at this in terms of a Kundalini awakening, and we recognize that when this life force energy begins to cleanse through, because that's really what it's doing, it's cleansing through our old system. And when it does that, it is going to disrupt the old structure, the old patterns of hormonal production, the old patterns in the brain that lead to certain behaviors, including behaviors that have been modified by trauma. Any of that is still going to be brought to the surface by the cleansing. So that means it's going to come closer to a reachable distance where we can do something with it. And how much we can do, and if we can alleviate it entirely, it really depends on the process of working through it, and both an understanding of it and an ability to also observe and allow this process to occur. I think of it very much like a shamanic initiation ceremony, like you would do with plant medicine. So when you're walking through your own awakening journey, there's going to be things that come up. And this is actually the reason many people have embarked on a plant medicine journey, is for a mental illness condition, because it allows you to go in and behind it and untangle those factors so that you are no longer manifesting those disorders. So even if there's a trauma there, we're not just going to leave it there and try to go forward with this schism in the personality. And because the more the Kundalini energy comes in, the more that distortion will happen. It's not going to get necessarily better first, because it's trying to push it up and out and make it run more naturally in alignment with your true nature, your divine nature. So there's a part of that that's allowing, but there's also knowing when you need a skilled guide, when you need a coach, when you need just someone to walk by you like you would a shaman in a ceremony. They're not there to intervene with your process and tell you what to do. They're basically just giant space holders that have zero judgment, holding space for your entire process to happen uninhibited. And of course, if something looks like needs to be addressed right then, there's a knowing that comes in around that. Hopefully, a good shaman guide will be aware of that and not check out of that process. And that can be challenging to find. I hope to think that's the space I hold. That is my job that I feel like I hold very humbly, because I feel like I can sit in non-judgment with somebody while they're going through that process. But sometimes there hits things where I call somebody in. I call in someone to help hold space with me if it gets too much and too deep. Like, we all need space holders. Even space holders need space holders. So sometimes the process we're going through, like I continue to go through an awakening process. It's never done. It's just the layers and the degrees to which we are facing our stuff. There's so much wholeness that is seeking to return to us now. Doesn't that sound amazing? There's so much wholeness seeking to return to us now. And it's already there. It's our awareness that goes in. It's like, even there, even there, even there. Wholeness, even in that spot. That's part of the wholeness too. Even that little crevice and that weakness, that's all part of the wholeness. Part of it, part of it, part of it, part of it. That ancestral trauma, that past life memory. It's not like, even when I do clearing with people, even when there's this emotion code work that I found very effective sometimes, even during that process, it's not always like to clear it to get it away. It's to clear that old mental construct holding on in that way. So a fresh new awareness can arise. An observer mind can arise. So I hope this has been helpful in the context of, can I have an awakening, but might I still have a mental disorder? And I am not a doctor yet. That is on my path. That's unfolding. But so I cannot make medical claims. But I am speaking as a spiritual advisor at this time, and one who has worked many years with the subconscious mind and deconditioning. I'm not trying to like shout myself out, but I want you to know where I'm coming from. So understanding the underworkings of the subconscious mind, and lots of plant medicine myself. Like, that has been a great teacher to me of navigating these deep and sometimes twisted caverns of consciousness. Because there's so much there. There's all of our connection to each other. There's the collective. There's our own personal libraries of stories. All of that. It's like this netting. It really is like that. The word the matrix is used, but we each have our personal one, and then we have also overlapping that influence us too. So there's a lot there. So along these terms, little pieces of advice I like to throw out is like, if you're seeing spiders a lot, spider is a medicine ally that's speaking to you of that web. Of the web that you are woven in, and like maybe where you're at in the unweaving, or what needs to be looked at. Thank you, Crow. So your world is alive and speaking to you. This is sometimes something people consider a mental disorder, and they're freaking out and thinking, oh my gosh, nature is giving me signs everywhere. I must be crazy. Nature does give us signs. It is us. A certain animal will show up at the exact moment that their energy is the piece of the puzzle in that moment. A number sequence will flash. It's almost like helping dial in our particular frequency codes. And we work with numbers in our system. And so when we see them, it affects us. So sometimes we can over-obsess about some of these things, or we can just be super excited and laugh and like find like amusement in it that we are seeing this, and embrace it as a joyful communication from all that is. So I hope this has been helpful. This is Stasia Bliss. We'll come back again next time with Kundalini Queen, helping you navigate your spiritual awakening. Thank you.